There's some history to AI, right? It started in the 50s. It was just a conversation that happened at the Dartmouth conference. And specifically, the conversation that they were having was, hey, how can we convey to a computer in a very natural and human-like way what we want to get done? Hopefully, the computer can give us an output on whatever we're describing to the computer. But that was in the 50s, and there was a lot of work to get done. And here we are in 2025, where it's actually happening. And so I'm just blown away how a concept around AI happened in the 50s. They developed something called machine learning. Machine learning says, hey, I want to introduce data to the compute unit. And now we can use the machine to make some predictions for us based on that data. We take it even deeper and we get into large language models. And now we have an opportunity to access data by way of the internet. There's so many sources out there that we can pull from. And so it just makes us even more powerful as we dive into this topic. That is AI. And so there is something that Coach talked about. Coach mentioned the cloud adoption framework. And if you were hanging out with us the previous weeks, you learned too that there is a framework that you can go by if you want to migrate your architecture from where you are and into the AWS cloud. So there's a framework for that. There's also a framework if you are considering some technology that is AI centered. And I don't want to dive into that particular link around everything that it talks about, but I do want to hit one specific portion of that link because it describes the hierarchy or the conversation about AI. And so I'll pull that up really quickly. And here it is, folks. You can imagine AI to be a tree. And let's call this the tree of human intelligence, right? That's the goal of AI, right? And so you see it here at the very top here, artificial intelligence wants to have this human-like exchange. That's the goal, right? There's branches within this tree. And we can consider machine learning to be branches, right? The tree as a whole is AI. Machine learning, that's the branches, and we'll use the data to produce something. There are specific branches within machine learning that can further that goal, like deep learning, right? Now we have an opportunity to start to create neural networks to work in the same process or a similar process that our brains work in. And out of that also comes the flowers on that branch, which we will consider Gen AI. It's taking what we've gathered from machine learning, this artificial intelligence conversation, and producing something brand new, not just looking at the data that you would introduce to what Charisma called a model, right? But also expounding on that and bringing brand new outputs. And so that's the general conversation when we consider something like the tree of intelligence, I like to call it, right?
Yeah, I like that.
And so this tree of intelligence can be used across different industries. And that brings us to the next topic, right? The next topic that we want to hit right now are what we like to call personas, right? Coach, I got a question for you. Let's make it real for these folks, right? They've been working in certain industries. Me and you, we've worked in certain industries. When you think about personas, or you think about an industry that probably already is affected by AI, what comes to mind, Coach?
Money, right? That's the first thing that comes to my mind, right?
Yes,
So financial services. But just as quickly as I say that, I think about public sector, I think about academia, I think about automobiles, I think about manufacturing, I think about pretty much every and anything outside of, I wouldn't say, I was getting ready to say maybe as an electrician or a plumber, but the reality of that is from a marketing perspective or optimizing your business, there still would be an impact. Oh. And the persona, when Gen AI first hit the scene last summer, the one thing that kept coming back to my mind over and over again was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'm going to date myself, right? It's where I've seen all three different renditions and versions of it.
Yeah.
But this movie is something that I've watched as a kid, right? And to have seen the different versions. But where there's this one scene where Charlie's father is working in the toothpaste factory. Mm-hmm. And he is replaced by this robot, right? By the arm of the robot putting on the little cap on the toothpaste. Yeah. But at the end of this journey in the movie, Charlie's father kind of upskills himself and now becomes the robot repairman. And so where we think about AI in kind of tweaking, we're going to use some words called fine tuning, but that's not the intent of what we're talking about here. But really understanding where's the human element of that, right? We've still got to have people with this large brain that's reasoning in all these different varieties of output. But At the end of the day, do we trust it? At the end of the day, what are the security guardrails that we're going to implement with this or configure for it? Do we want to ensure that there is a human at the end of the day saying, yes, we're giving it a thumbs up. Yes, we think it's secure. Yes, we think that it's accurate. Yes, or no. And so
Right.
we'll talk about how no matter what the services are, no matter how much we look at automating, we still want to ensure that there's someone at the end of the day or at the end of that pipeline that says, yes, in fact, this is good. Yes, we approve it. Or yes, where we've identified what some of these, whether it's guardrails or what some of these deployment methods may be to automate this process, whatever that process may be. But I say all that to say, don't be afraid of this, right? Don't be afraid of AI. Don't be afraid of any part of this. This is the reason why we're having these conversations and trying to demystify it all, right? Look at it
Yes.
through the lens of this is your personal assistant. This is a way for, and no matter what service you use, because there's a lot of different services that make it easier from an individual perspective, but also from a business perspective or enterprise perspective that allows you to now take advantage of so many services in building and crafting your own models or building and crafting your own videos, building and crafting your own sentences and paragraphs and creating a book, creating a novel in ways that you have these ideas.
Yes.
Now, this is where now I get to create. And this is the beautiful part about it for me is I get to move away or do away with the mundane day-to-day task. And this is where I consider automation being part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to create. I get
Yes.
to use this personal assistant and create something that hasn't been done before, something that I may not even have imagined before. And so this is where the beauty of many of the different AWS AI services that we'll talk about throughout these weeks
Mm-hmm.
come into play, like Amazon Nova, like Amazon Bedrock. And again, we'll talk about these, but I just wanted to wet your whistle a little bit when we come back to the personas about where and how we can use and take advantage of these different services.
Absolutely. So you hit it right on the nail, Coach. These personas are going to really gear our learners around those who are viewing this video around use cases, right? So
Mhm.
all of those different personas that Coach Charisma just named, I can think about those use cases and how they fit well. Like maybe if you're in the manufacturing industry, quality control issue, right?
Right.
Humans are doing that, but maybe we can invite machine learning models, large language models to consider what's happening in production, right? In the manufacturing industry, customer service, scalability, right? Being able to scale, right? Fraud detection. Coach just talked about somebody in the financial industry. Maybe there is some documentation that you need to summarize, like Coach just talked about. And so all of these personas really fit back to a use case, but those use cases fit to you choosing a model,